Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the AgView Pitch. Today, we are going to be talking markets, and we're heading into a new marketing week this week, the 29th of September through the 3rd of October. So we're getting in the first part of October. Today, we have with us Joe Vaclavik. How's it going, Joe?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Good, good. It's interesting being on this side. A lot of times I get to be on the other side of the communication with you and have you ask the questions. So now I get to ask the questions. So that's good.
Yeah, I've kind of become more the interviewer than the interviewee in recent years. So, yeah, whatever.
Well, you got a lot of wisdom. That's why I bug you
I don't
occasionally.
know about that.
Well, you got a lot of experience. You've seen a lot over your career and talked to a lot of people and a lot of good information. So I guess what I want to first mention is our conference in Phoenix, Arizona this year, January 21st through the 24th. You're going to be there. So
I'll be there.
you looking forward to it? Are you and see you and Matt and Pete and Brian can all arm wrestle, or I don't know, maybe we can set up a fighting thing and you guys can all fight out where the markets are going.
I'll be the referee, but yeah, I'll be there. It's a good, you guys put on a great meeting. It's one of the only meetings. I do like 2 meetings a year. I don't travel. This is one of the only ones that I do. It's a good meeting. It's not sales pitchy or anything. If you guys are considering it, I would recommend it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we really appreciate having you there. You've been to every single one of
hmm
them. Bring a ton of.
What is this, the fourth or fifth one?
This is the fifth one.
Fifth
So
one? Yeah.
fifth annual.
Time
So
flies.
it sure does. So, but we really enjoy having you there, and you're definitely a crowd highlight. And we wrap up the conference with the roundtable with all you guys kind of going at it on where things are looking for the market. So with
It's
that
fun.
said,
The market piece is fun because nobody knows, but we could talk.
oh yeah, well, there's just a lot of things happening, and we're going to get into some of that stuff here in this conversation. But I guess where I want to start is early harvest. I'm going to give you my perspective from my like backyard, and then I'm going to hear what you're seeing. I've heard from some clients similar to what I'm seeing in my backyard. Our early corn harvest is disappointing. The early variety, early hybrids are not performing as well as they did last year, which is shocking to me, to be completely honest, because the way the crop looked all year, all the way up almost to the end, I would have bet a lot of money that it was going to be at least as good as last year, if not quite a bit better.
Yep.
It's off the pace quite a bit, and where people did not spray fungicide, the information I'm hearing back and what I'm seeing is anywhere from 30 to 50 bushel,
Yep.
and a bunch of acres did not get sprayed. That's going to hammer the yield pretty good. What are you hearing? Are you hearing similar stuff on the corn?
Very similar. There's a lot of disappointing early yields. And from where I sit, Chris, I struggle to put a ton of emphasis on every yield report that I hear because, as you know, the bad stuff gets a lot more attention than the good stuff. When farmers have good yields, they keep their mouths shut. When it's bad, it's posted everywhere. But no, I've heard from you and I've heard from a lot of subscribers who I trust that, yeah, things are off a little bit. And it's early, but we're probably not on track to hit the lofty-ish numbers that USDA has thrown out there. And I think the trade is aware of that. I think the trade was made aware probably as back in early to mid-August that maybe this thing wasn't going to be as good as advertised. That's when the corn market bottomed. That's when we started to bounce a little bit. That's when it turned hot and dry in August. That's when we found out a little bit more about this disease pressure. So I think everything you're telling me about corn makes sense, and it lines up with what I've heard as well.
Yeah, and I think it'll settle or balance out a little bit because I think the full season hybrids will be better. They always are, and so I think we'll see that. But this rust thing, and
The
talk
rust thing is very real, and it runs much further north than I ever would have guessed.
yeah, it made it to the Iowa border. I don't think it's much in Minnesota or whatever, but it
Yeah,
got into the heart of the Corn Belt pretty
yeah,
heavy.
absolutely.
What about soybeans? What I'm hearing there and what I'm seeing in my backyard is phenomenal soybean yields. There's some one-offs, but in general, soybean yields on the harvest that we've heard so far is pretty stellar. What are you hearing? Anything there?
Yep, same thing. And I'm actually surprised to hear that from guys in the central and eastern corn belt where it got really dry. I mean, there are a lot of places got dry, but there were, let's call it the southern half of Illinois, just ballpark, and then a lot of Indiana, a lot of Ohio were very dry in August, and it was hot too. And the early stuff is good. I mean, again, it's early, but I'd say the contrary in beans versus corn is that it's probably like maybe a little bit better than the expectations. I don't know what the expectations were because again, August was not great, but maybe surprisingly good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, I want to shift gears a little bit. As I said, we're going into this first week of starting the first week of October. There's 20 trading days that sets the price, the fall price determination for crop insurance
Hmm.
of those 20 trading days. Um, with what we just talked about, with the yield maybe being off a little bit in corn and that type of thing, and in soybeans, what I want to ask first, what's kind of the normal in October? I mean, do we normally see some increase? When you look at charts and historicals, do we normally see some kind of a price improvement during the month of October, or is it usually flat, or what are you typically seeing? Um,
The long-term seasonal tendencies on average over the last 30 years and on average over the last 15 years is that you bottom on October 1st and you start to dig yourself out of the hole during the month of October. More recently, if you were to look at like a 5-year seasonal, the lows have been coming earlier. And I'm not sure if 5 years is a good enough sample size, but this year perhaps lines up. I mean, we posted our low in August. Corn's rallied, what, 30 cents from the low. So maybe that's the way that we go. I could make it an argument for some upside at least in the futures market. I feel like you might give back a lot of it in basis, which is tough to stomach because basis already isn't very good. But when you've got 90 million acres of corn that are going to be harvested, and apparently a whole bunch of old crop corn that's still out there,
mhm,
it's not a recipe for a really great cash market during the month of October, even though the futures could rally. And that's something that could really not be great for the farmer. I mean, the board rally, but cash doesn't rally, and you wind up with the situation where maybe the crop isn't as good as you thought. It's not a great combination necessarily. It would allow you, of course, some opportunities to do HTAs or capture some carry through some forward sales, but for that stuff that needs to be priced out of the field, a cash price that's a stable and a higher board may not be great, especially if you're hedged.
mhm. It's been surprising to me, talking to some of the processors, how much old crop they're still getting in.
Oh, it's
With
phenomenal.
yeah, I mean, I was told a week ago they were still getting 40% of well, 60% of the loads coming in were still old crop, and only 40% were new crop.
Yeah, and I've heard numbers higher than that at different locations in Illinois and Iowa. Like one guy told me 80% of the stuff coming
Holy
in
crap.
this week was old crop, which is crazy. So you got the stocks report coming out on Tuesday, and I think there are some people, maybe a growing crowd, who believe that USDA underestimated the 2024 crop, and that you might see something in the stocks report to tell you that, hey, wait a minute, the size of that crop was actually larger than what the government has led us to believe.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. And if that's the case, the other thing that's going on, at least from what we see with our clients, is some have basis locked in, but they don't have the price set yet, right? So,
Hmm.
and there's quite a bit of that, at least in our client base, that of the bushels that they knew they got to deliver, they locked basis so that if the price goes up, you know what basis does. So that's
Yeah.
probably a smart move.
That could work out. I think it could.
I think so too. And so, but because there's if there's all this old crop still coming, at some point I would think it'd slow down some. But you're going to have all this new crop that doesn't have a home. Even though we're talking about the yields being off the pace, there's still better yields than what there's storage capacity for. And guys are
Yeah.
not going to pay commercial storage, generally speaking. And so they're going to sell it. So that's going to put a wet blanket on how much this market can move, isn't it?
You would think so, and it's been generally understood that the farmer is undersold relative to a normal year, just on average. I don't know what the number is nationally. Is it farmers got 15% of his bushels sold? I mean, is that what it is? I know among the crowd we talked to, it's probably a little bit higher, but the average I think is very low relative to a normal year. So the guys gonna have to come in and sell what they can't store. Yeah, maybe, and that could pressure the market because as soon as you sell your bushels to the processor or to the elevator, they turn around and sell the board to hedge their newly acquired price risk. So it could pressure the board. It could. I have a tough time painting a positive basis scenario, but we'll see.
Yeah. Our clients are somewhere in the middle, 20% sold,
Sure.
24 to 27, somewhere in that range. And typically they're about 40 to 45% sold. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of bushels that are probably going to get priced during the month of October, which is going to be interesting to see what that does.
Another thing I would mention, and I'm sick of talking about this because I've been talking about it all week, but the government's going to announce some sort of aid package here in the next 3 or 4 weeks, the way that
That's
it
where I was
sounds.
going next here.
That's what they talked about yesterday.
Yeah,
Think about that what you will, whatever, but it's got different opinions. But the farmer knows he's got cash coming. Is he going to be as willing and able to go and move these bushels, or is he going to store every single bushel that he can store, knowing that he's got a check coming probably first quarter of next year? The payments are coming. It's just a question of details at this point. I think Trump came out and said it yesterday. He can't go back on it now. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's an additional piece to the puzzle.
hmm Do you, so let's talk about the tariff relief. I mean, that's a contentious discussion. I mean, we
Hmm.
talked about before we started recording, people get awful excited when we start talking politics, and we're not talking politics. We're trying to just discuss facts to the best of the ability that we can, and we can have differing opinions and not get all pissed off at each other. I would think we can
We
have normal.
can. A lot of people can't,
Yeah,
is
and
what I found out here the last couple weeks. But
it's just crazy. I mean, let's just all try to get along, and we can agree to disagree. It's okay, you know. And I guess, whether we like it or not, I mean, do you think there's any odds of getting anything sold to China? Because, I mean, if they're planning on the tariff money being distributed back out to the farmers to offset that, that what would you call it? I guess the deficit
yeah,
of revenue, and whether or not they equal it out. The scary part of that is whenever the government throws money at stuff, the industry will step in and scoop a bunch of that up. And like I've told you before, all of our data indicates that about 70% of the money that comes in via the government goes back out to all of the rest of the industry. The farmer keeps about 30% of it in the end.
yeah.
Any comments on that or thoughts or
Yeah, we've discussed this before. Generally speaking, the farmer is a mechanism by which the direct payments flow through back to the input suppliers, is the way that it works. And this is, what it's going to do. And we've talked about it 100 times. It's going to keep inputs high. It's going to keep rents high. It's going to keep land values high. And that's a big problem. The inflation aspect of what's going on with inputs is probably the bigger problem here, more so than the trade war, more so than Dees corn being at 4.25 on the board. It's the fact that input costs are up so drastically and will not come down. And whatever dollar amount they decide to send out, if it's another 10 billion like ECAP, or maybe it's more than that, it's not going to help your input cost situation.
Mhm. It'll be interesting on the soybean side of things too, because the payment would have to be rather hefty
At
to
least a couple bucks a bushel if they're going to do it that way.
it would have to be at least two or it's
That's
not
what MFP was. It was $1.65 first go round. I think 205 the second go round. I mean, that was what, 5, 6 years ago now.
right, right. And it'll be interesting. Do they do it on specifically on beans and corn and wheat and other crops
Yeah,
based on,
it's just
so I
it's gonna be
stay
details at this point. I mean, it's coming. Just a
stay,
matter of how
stay
much.
tuned.
Yeah.
Paul Neefer and Steve Johnson and those guys will know. But
Hmm.
all right, so last couple things. USDA is going to have a report in October.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe
well, yeah, they usually do.
there's a government shutdown
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah.
I don't know
Well,
if they're gonna put the date out or not. Actually, don't quote me on that because I've heard both ways. I've heard that they could work through it, and I've heard that they won't. I don't
okay,
know.
so let's assume that they do come out with a
Somebody
report.
will email me angrily and correct me on that. I
Yeah,
didn't even say an opinion, but that seems to be the trend this week because I get angry emails. So
maybe our crowd's nicer. Maybe they won't yell at you.
I sure hope so.
Um, I guess what I'm wondering though is, let's assume that they come out with a report, and do you feel like they're gonna dial back some of this corn yield? I mean, they're still pretty
Yes.
high on the corn yield. How much do you think they're willing to move in your experience over the years? Because they seem to be pretty conservative when they tend to be anyway.
They
Except
could come down 2, 3 bushels and the market may not move at all because I think the market knows
Mark
it's coming
knows it.
down. I think the
Yeah.
trade knows it's coming down. I
Yep.
think the trade, I think the trade right now, if I had to guess, and I'm not the trade, but I'm just telling you what I think and what I've heard. I think the trade is working with like a 182 to 183 type number right now. That's what I think.
That's what I was looking for. Because I think that's more important than what the USDA comes out with. Because I think some sentiment out there that if the USDA drops it 3 bushel, we're going to see this a little bit of a rally or whatever and an opportunity, and we may not because the market's already got it factored in. It's a futures market, right? They're already
I
anticipating.
believe so. And the yield's one thing, but the acres are another very real thing. The acres are real. Farmer reported FSA acres. We're going to harvest 90 million. It might be more than that by the time it's all said and done. It's not going lower. So I mean, no matter what the yield is, this crop is a monster compared to any other crop that we've ever seen.
And even though the yield's off on this early harvested stuff, with all those acres planted, all of those acres are actually going to produce too. A lot of times, like you said, the harvested acres are what matter, and it looks like we're going to have a high percentage of the planted acres harvested probably too.
Yeah, and corn it's usually 91 or 92%, and the other, 8 or 9% is silage and abandonment and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be. I mean, they've got 90 million penciled in the balance sheet harvested.
Yeah. All right. Last question. As we move forward into the month of October, if you put your farmer hat on, what are the 2 or 3 things that you're keeping your eyes on to make sure that you're doing the right things as you're in harvest and you're busy as heck, but paying attention to what things on the marketing side?
Um, as your yield reports come in, adjust your budgets and try to figure out if you're making money or not. And I know most of you guys are gonna say, no, I ain't making any money. But there's some of you guys who are gonna maybe yield your way out of this. And if the yields come in better than you thought, make sure you go run the numbers. And if you can go sell cash grain at a profit or at a break even, I mean, that's probably something that's going to be attractive to a lot of people. Keep my eyes open for headlines. If you see the market rally on a trade deal headline or something, I think that's probably an opportunity to offload some risk and sell some bushels and into any sort of positive headline here. We're a long ways from digging ourselves out of this from a supply and demand standpoint. And I think that if you see a sharp rally in corn or soybeans off of any sort of headline, with trade deal or otherwise, it may be an opportunity to hedge yourself up just a little bit, given that the farmer is understood to be a little bit undersold.
Awesome. I haven't asked a last question for a long time, so I'm going to do that. 2026, if that rally comes in this year for the 25 crop, it's obviously going to probably to some extent move the opportunities both on corn, soybeans, probably not wheat so much, but corn and soybeans. What what do you do? Are you looking at maybe pulling the trigger on a tiny bit of 26 out
These
there?
26 corn is damn close to an area where guys might be able to break even given what we know about early budgets, right? I mean,
Mhm.
we're 460 on the board. Okay. Get that thing up to 475, 480, and you're probably in business.
Yeah.
And just think to yourself about how bad and terrible this feels this year. You got the opportunity to at least break even next year. I mean, I'm not saying you got to go hog wild, but I think that's an opportunity. I fear, Chris, I know people are talking corn acreage reduction for next year. Why would you reduce corn acreage by a whole lot? I mean, you're at a situation where D's corn breaks even or pretty damn close to it, and beans are still $1 loser. I mean, I think you'll probably come down a little bit, but I don't let you come down a lot. One of the groups was out with a corn acreage number for next year's early estimate. It was 94 and a half. I think that's probably fair.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. I just
This
said,
bean thing is just an anchor on it. Just it messes up everything.
yeah, it is. I think there will be a little bit of a shift back due to agronomic reasons and logistical reasons
Yep.
to some extent. But I would agree with you. I don't think the shift's going to be grandiose or anything. It's just going to
Back
be
to the
slow.
aid payments. I mean, that's another thing that could encourage more corn acres. Say we got the money to do corn now. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. And the fertilizer thing is a big deal too, as we try
yeah,
to navigate that, and what people intend to do and what they end up doing a lot of times is quite a bit different too. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's one of those things, stay tuned until the planters roll because there's a lot of operations that can change their mind at the last minute too.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm watching 26. I feel like it's putting the cart ahead of the horse just a little bit because we got so much unfinished business for this year.
mhm,
But yeah, you got to start somewhere.
yeah. Well, hey, Joe, as usual, this is a phenomenal conversation. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all you do with your premium subscriptions. I listen to it every morning. My wife gives me a bad time because the first thing I listen to every morning is your YouTube podcast. I put that on and I'm walking around the house and she's like, "Is this the only thing you ever listen to?" And so no,
I'm
I'm like,
sorry.
it's just the first thing I listen to. So
Yeah.
if people, and they'd have to be living under a rock, but if people don't um, listen to you or subscribe, what's the best way to get on your premium?
So the podcast, which I'm going into my 6th or 7th year now,
Hmm.
It's called Grain Markets and Other Stuff, and it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. YouTube's been the most popular way that people consume it because we do charts and graphics and weather maps and all sorts of stuff. There's a new episode every day. So Monday through Friday, it's uploaded by 6 a.m. Central at the very latest. It's up super early, and it's turned into a big thing. Apparently, we've got like, I don't know, we've been averaging 20 or 30,000 views a day on YouTube, plus probably a similar amount in podcast downloads. So we've gained some traction, which is great. I don't know why people want to listen to me every day, but they do. So if you want to check it out, that's the info.
Yeah. Well, you're a rock star now, man. So it's everybody wants to hear what you got to say. So
Yeah, I guess
ones
so.
that you piss off.
Again, I don't know why, but that's what I do now. So
Yeah, even the ones that you make mad and frustrate, they even come back.
there's a lot of those recently. I just a quick sidebar. We've had a lot of like policy stuff in the news, everything from the farm payments to the United States bailing out Argentina, all this stuff. And you got to have thick skin to be in the content business and talk about this stuff every day because people are nuts when it comes to politics. They're absolutely insane. I get the angriest and most absurd emails and text messages about things that I didn't even say,
Yeah.
or things that I didn't even proclaim. It's like people have just really got to chill out just a little bit. I get that there's a lot of tension, and this agriculture thing is tough, and a lot of it's coming from non-agriculture people. And I don't really care what they think, but it's just it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of troll stuff
Oh,
on YouTube that I've noticed, about the tariffs and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you've said before, and I would agree wholeheartedly, is that there's a whole algebra equation you'd have to do to figure out why the markets are where they're at. It's not any
yeah,
one thing. There's
yeah.
multiple things that create a market, and it's just
So we've been averaging like 5, 6, 700 comments on YouTube per day when we talk about anything political, and 9 out of 10 of them are very much negative, like just hate, troll, whatever comment. But I will say I'm grateful to the haters and the trolls because even though they'll never buy my subscription, because that's how I actually make money. I don't make any money doing YouTube.
right.
Um, Even though they'll never buy it, it helps to expand my reach to people that actually will buy it. So it's actually great for business. I can't complain about that stuff very much.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I always tell my wife sometimes it's like, can't people just get along?
No,
Just agree to disagree.
nope,
It's okay, be
nope.
happy.
Especially when you're sitting behind a computer screen, you can just be a jerk and there's no consequences. It's not the real world.
Right. Well, hey, again, Joe, thanks a lot. Really appreciate your time today.
Yep. Stay safe out there, guys.
Yeah. And thanks everybody again. And just as Joe said, harvest is underway. Try to get your rest, try to be safe, pay attention to what you're up to, watch the markets once in a while, and reach out if you need anything. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll catch you again next time on the Ag Pitch.